Now that we finished up chapter 1, which was a lot of stuff with distributive property, order of operations, and other things, we're going to talk about now chapter 2. We're going to spend a whole week on chapter 2.1, which is solving one-step equations. This chapter here is going to focus on solving for a variable. The process of solving in algebra has been happening for you as soon as first grade on worksheets that look kind of like this, where they gave you a question. They gave you a blank plus 5 equals 8, and we were trying to figure out what number plus 5 equals 8. The only difference now is that it's going to have an x plus 5 equals 8, or some other variable plus 5 equals 8, which still should make us think what number plus 5 equals 8. In both experiences, our job was and is to find out what number or numbers make it true. There are some where there's more than one solution. For the sake of helping you understand, we're going to begin a lot of these activities by modeling the problems. What modeling does is help us to visualize the process so we can make proper choices when the problems become a bit more difficult. So imagine that the problem that we saw up here looks something like this, and that all the blanks were the same. Well, the thing is, it would be a complex problem, but the thing is that we would eventually begin to work our way up to the point where we could actually figure it out. Our goal over the next few weeks is to build up our experience so that we actually understand how to find a solution to problems like that. And I capitalize the word understand because many students think that doing well in math or algebra is just about finding the answer, so they skip all the work. They tell me the answer is 5 and they feel like they've done everything they're supposed to. That is actually not true. The way you do well in math is to actually understand the concept well enough so that you can implement a strategy that reveals the answer. We should not have to actually find anything at all. What algebra does for us is that it lets us trim away all the other information so that the answer just kind of shows up. So do me a favor, actually do us a favor, both me and you, a favor, and show patience over the next few weeks. Each day is going to end with a quiz. It counts on your quiz section, which is the 40% part of your grade. We're doing this so you can start to build up your grades after a tough first chapter. The quizzes are not supposed to be tough, and they're based on the work that we're doing that particular day, so just be sure to participate, pay attention, and ask questions so you can stay on top of everything. Attendance and participation are the two most important keys to anything if you want success, but they are definitely important here, as being here, practicing the information, and not missing days or not skipping would definitely help you out. You'll be receiving a worksheet at this time. It should be filled out as we work through some practice exercises. This is part of your daily participation grade. It will be collected at the end of the video presentation, or just looked over and made sure that you've done what you need to do. It is not graded whether or not you are correct, only just that you participate and make what I call a true attempt. That means that you actually tried to answer it, you just didn't write a bunch of stuff on there and hope that I look and say everything is okay. Modeling terms. We talked about modeling. A constant is a value in an expression that is set. It cannot and will not change. We will model it by using plus and minus signs that match the amount of the value. So complete the first portion of your sheet now with me, please, as we model some constants. If you see the number 5, the first thing we recognize that this is a positive 5, and so we will put 5 pluses in its place to model that 5. If we see a negative 3, we understand this 3 is negative, and we will model it using 3 negatives. Again, 3 negatives mean negative 3. If we see a 2, it is a positive 2, so we will model it with 2 pluses. If we see a constant that is a negative 6, we will use 6 negatives. Alright? So again, if you see a constant that is a number in a expression or equation that just is set 5, negative 3, 2, or 6, you're just going to go ahead and use the plus signs or minus signs to show what that value is. A variable represents an unknown amount, so we do not know what that amount, we do not know what value that the variable represents in the problem, so we need to find something that helps us understand its flexibility. We will imagine that a unknown number of plus or minus signs is inside of a cup. For example, if I had a cup plus 3 more pluses had to equal 5 pluses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. There's 1, 2, 3. There has to be 2 more inside that cup. But again, we don't know what's on the inside of that cup. So what we're going to do, therefore, is model a cup using a V. So I think there's a question on there that says, how do we model a variable? And that is with the shape of a V. It's going to be like a snow cone cup. just because it's cheaper to, it's easier to write and it's easier to deal with. So now let's model some expressions real fast. I'll do 2 examples and then I'll pause the video for you to do 3 on your own. I'll even leave it up on the board so you can use it as a guide for everything else. So if you see x plus 4, recognize that this is 2 terms. The first term is an x, so we'll put a cup. And then we have a positive 4, which means 1, 2, 3, 4 pluses. That is the model. If I saw x minus 3, again the first term is an x, so we put a cup. Minus 3 means 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I'm going to pause the video now. Take this time to work with the people in your group, ask questions of the teachers in the room, make sure you understand at least what's going on with this before we move on. And again, they're going to get about 2-3 minutes to go ahead and do that. Again, just make sure you're working and everything will be fine. For the answers on this, x plus 1, first term is an x, so we put a cup. Then we have a positive 1, which would be this answer. 6 plus x, our first term is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a positive 6. And an x, which means we put a cup after that. Negative 2 plus x, 2 negatives and a cup. Alright? So the equal sign means that the amount on the left side is the same as the amount on the right side. We're going to represent the split by using a wall to separate the 2 sides. Keep in mind that the wall separates 2 sides that have the same amount. Alright, so again, whenever you see that wall, it means that whatever is on the left side matches whatever is on the right side, and we're going to use that to our advantage. I will model 2 problems again, then pause the video so you can try 3 on your own. Again, be sure to ask questions at this time so we can come around and try to help you understand the process. So again, what we just learned here, this is an x, which we'll model with a cup, plus 1, which we'll put a plus here. The equal sign means separate it with a wall, and then negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we have here is a x, an unknown amount, and a 1 is equal to the same as negative 4. Alright, so again, that equal sign is like a wall there. On the second one, 3 equals negative 5 plus x. The equal sign is like a wall, so what we will do is model the 3 by doing our 3 pluses. We'll put our wall down. Negative 5 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives, and the x, which we represent with a cup. That is how you model that second one. So again, I'm going to leave this up, let you use it as a model for the rest of the problems that are up here. So go ahead and take a few minutes, and work those rest of the 3 questions out on your own, and then I'll unpause the video and come around and go over the answers for you. So looking at the next one, x minus 3 equals 2. Again, x would be a cup. Minus 3 means 3 negatives. Equal sign means draw a wall. 2 is a positive 2, so we put 2 pluses down. That is the model that we would use. 4 equals negative 1 plus x. Again, 4 means 1, 2, 3, 4 pluses. Equals means draw a line or a wall. Negative 1 means put a negative there, and x means we need a cup in its place. This is 4 equals negative 1 plus x. The last one, negative 2 equals x minus 4. Again, negative 2 means put down 2 negatives. Equal means draw your wall. X would be a cup. Minus 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. And again, that is how we model that in the initial part. So now that we have at least a better understanding of how to model the problem, we're going to use our common sense to actually start solving them. Again, stop me at any point if you need some of those questions to be re-explained or explained a little bit. But other than that, like I said, right now what we're going to be doing is moving pretty close into what we need to for the rest of the day. First off, you got to understand that a phrase, a zero pair, is created when a plus sign and a minus sign are put together. If you remember when we talked about adding real numbers and we had a positive put together with a negative and that they canceled out and went off the table, that is because if you logically think about it, taking one step forward, if I'm starting here and I take one step forward and then one step backwards, I pretty much didn't take any steps overall because I'm right back where I began. So anytime you see a plus and minus sign in the same side, they're going to cancel each other out. They're called a zero pair. That's what we're going to be calling that. We'll find out what's inside the cup by creating zero pairs. Remember that I told you that the wall separates 2 sides with the same amount. We're going to use that idea to our advantage. So watch me work out a few problems for you. Be sure to ask about anything during this portion of the video. Again, raise your hand, let me know, and I'll be glad to stop the video and try to help you understand it better. So here we go. We're going to solve x plus 2 equals 6 by modeling. So the first thing we're going to do is model it with an x, 2 pluses, a wall, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pluses. Alright. Our overall goal is to get this cup by itself so we can see what's inside of it. But right now the cup is on the same side as 2 pluses. What we're going to do is move these 2 pluses by adding 2 negatives to this side. Why? Because whenever you have a plus and a minus, remember those two things cancel out. But here's the rule of algebra. Whatever you add to the left side, you must also add to the right side. So if I add 2 negatives on the left, I have to also add 2 negatives on the right, which creates 2 more zero pairs over there that cancel. I draw my line. The only thing that comes down on the left side is a cup. On the right side, after those cancel, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pluses, which means as I translate it that x equals, that would be a positive 4. And think about it, 4 plus 2 is 6. It actually works out like it's supposed to. Alright. Again, raise your hand if there are any questions on that so we can try to help you out. Solve x minus 3 equals negative 5 by modeling. First off, x minus 3 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5 here. And again, our overall goal is to get the cup by itself. This cup is on the same side as 3 negatives. Well, the way we're going to move those 3 negatives away from the cup is by adding the opposite to create 0 pairs, which is 3 pluses. Because a plus and a negative cancel out, but the rule again is if I add 3 pluses over here, I have to also add 3 pluses over there. We have some 0 pairs that occur in this problem here because they cancel out. The only thing that comes down the left side is the cup. On the right side, the only thing left over is the 2 negatives, meaning that x equals, remember that would be a negative 2 because there are 2 negatives, that would be a negative 2. Alright. Once again, if there's anything you need explained, raise your hand so we can pause the video, put it back to the area you need, and try to discuss it with you so you can do better at it. Solve negative 4 equals x plus 1 by modeling. Again, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 equals, which means put a wall, x plus 1. Our objective is still to get the cup alone, but this time the cup is on the same side as 1 plus. It's not over here with those negatives, it's over here with the plus, which is why we make the wall. The way we get rid of this plus is by adding a minus on both sides. Remember, if I add it over here, I have to add it over there. That 0 pair cancels out, but notice there are no 0 pairs over here, so we don't cancel. The only reason we would cancel is if there was a plus and minus over here, but there's not. What we have instead is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. And the cup coming down over here, which means that negative 5 equals x. Alright, so the questions you need to think about now, and again, just think about them. How do I eliminate 3 plus signs or move 3 plus signs? And what you should be thinking is the way you move 3 plus signs is by adding 3 negative signs. Okay? What if you wanted to eliminate 5 negative signs? So again, if you wanted to move 5 negative signs, you would simply add 5 positive signs, because again, that would create your 0 pairs. The key thing here is what must always happen though is you have to do it on both sides of the equation. If you add something to the left and do not do the same thing to the right, you are breaking a rule of algebra and you are not going to find the right answer. The general idea is as long as you follow the rules of algebra, everything you do will come out just the way it's supposed to, which is why earlier I said you don't need to find the answer, you just need to take the proper steps and let the answer reveal itself. Now take a moment to attempt the 2 problems in your groups. There should be 2 on your worksheet. Be sure again to talk and communicate your ideas. We are here to mess up because we learn best from our mistakes, so do not feel like there is any pressure during this time to be perfect. You're just trying to apply what you just learned. So again, please begin now. I'll pause the video, give you a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and discuss what's going on. If you're going to model this, x, 4 pluses, equals means put a wall, negative 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, we want to get the cup alone. In order to get the cup alone, we must move these 4 pluses. The way we move 4 pluses is by adding 4 negatives, but we have to add 4 negatives to both sides. We cancel out all of our 0 pairs. We notice that there are no 0 pairs over here because remember you're looking for groups of plus and minus, which doesn't exist. A cup comes down over here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 negatives come down over here, which means in the end x equals, since it's 10 negatives, it would be negative 10. Again, ask questions if there's any mistake you made that you want to understand better. We will be glad to stop the video and discuss it with you. Negative 5 equals negative 3 plus x. Again, negative 5 is 5 negatives. Equals means put a wall. Negative 3 means putting 3 negatives and a cup. This time the cup is on the right and we need to move 3 negatives. In order to move 3 negatives, we must add 3 positives to the side. But if we add 3 positives over here, we must also add 3 positives over there. Now you notice your 0 pairs that cancel out. Again, any groups of plus and minus that are grouped together are going to go away. What comes down now is 2 negatives because that's the only thing left over there. And the cup over here, meaning that negative 2 is equal to x in the very end. Alright? So again, stop us. If there's anything you need explained, we'll be glad to try to get you to understand whatever you did wrong or wherever your mistake might be. So getting back to algebra, modeling is effective at helping you to understand the process, but it is not effective at solving every problem. It's kind of like giving a kid a teddy bear so they go to sleep. When they're young, you don't want to keep giving them the teddy bear and allowing them to do that when they're 30 and 40 years old. Eventually you have to let it go. So is it smart to use modeling to solve this following problem? X minus 96 equals 119. As you can see on the screen, the answer is obvious no, because in order to solve this with modeling, you would have a cup, 96 negatives, a wall, and 119 pluses. You would then have to add 96 pluses to both sides, cancel out all those 0 pairs. It would be a lot of work to get that solution. What we need to keep in mind is that every step we're taking in modeling is actually being done in algebra. We're just using the modeling to help us to understand the strategy. So looking at the following problems with me real quick, we're going to look at some of these and try to see how the heck we're going to bring all this stuff back. So solve by modeling and using algebra means we're going to do both of these. X plus 2 equals negative 7 means I am going to go off to the side, not under because I need to solve using algebra. Off to the side is x plus 2 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 7. We know we need to get this cup alone to move these 2 pluses, and the way we move 2 pluses is by adding 2 negatives. If I add 2 negatives to the left, I must also add 2 negatives to the right. My 0 pairs cancel over there. The cup comes down with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 negatives. And that is where I stop. I do not need to write it over here because that is the modeling answer. Now over here, this is where we're going to use algebra. X plus 2 equals negative 7. Using the strategy that we just learned, our job is to get the x alone. But the x is over here with a positive 2. The way you get rid of a positive 2, as you see here, is to put a negative 2 on both sides. If you want to draw a line through your equal sign, that's fine. If you want to create that wall to help you organize it, that works for me. Just make sure you understand again that we are moving this positive 2 with a negative 2 just like we move the 2 pluses with 2 negatives, the exact opposite. X comes down, that cancels because positive 2 and negative 2 make 0. Equals comes down, and negative 7 plus negative 2, if you have to use your calculator to do it, is negative 9. If you have to use your calculator, just make sure you know how to type it in as negative 7 plus negative 2, which would give you your negative 9 as your answer. And again, notice x in your cup, negative 9 and 9 negatives, means that everything is consistent. Again, feel free to ask if there's anything going on. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, equals means put a wall. X means put a cup. Minus 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our cup is on the right side. We have 4 negatives to get rid of. The way we get rid of those 4 negatives is by moving it with 4 pluses. We cancel out our 0 pairs. Those go away. Here's some that go away over here. What comes down on this side is a plus and a cup, which again is our stopping point because we have the cup alone. So that would be solving by modeling. Obviously the answer is a positive 1, but let's make sure. Over here, again, if you want to draw a line through that, you can go ahead and do that. That way you can see your two sides. X is over here with a negative 4. If I want to move a negative 4, I simply put a positive 4. Again, it has to be on both sides. Negative 3 plus 4, again, if you don't know what that is, just put negative 3 plus 4. Type it in exactly the way you just said it. Notice your answer is 1 equals, and then X comes down here, and those two things cancel out. Notice how your answer here matches your answer over there. Alright? So please, again, ask now if there are any issues understanding how modeling translates into algebra. For the most part, only thing you're doing today is adding or subtracting, using the opposite of whatever the number is to get your parts there. So now let's just work out a couple problems together before we move on to the rest of the worksheet. I think we should be on the back side of your worksheet now if we're going to be doing that. Let me look and make sure. Yep, if you're on the class practice side, you notice that the first two questions should match what I have here. So this will go on your first two problems on the back side of your sheet, and then the rest of the day is just practicing what we're doing. So again, we're going to use this space. Be sure you write small enough, or get your own piece of paper out if you don't write that small, but I try to leave enough room where you could actually fit it into space. Either way, 1 plus x equals negative 5. That is a plus, a cup, a wall, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. The cup is over here with a plus. We want to move the plus, so we add a negative. If I add a negative over here, I must add a negative over there. The only zero pair is on the left side, which brings down the cup. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives. So the answer should be negative 6 if everything is done right. Coming back over to this side, again, if you want to draw a line through the equal sign for your wall, that is fine. We have an x over here with a 1. That is a positive 1. And the way we move that positive 1 is by adding a negative 1 to both sides. The ones cancel out. The x comes down, equals comes down, and again, if you want to know what negative 5 and negative 1 makes, type in negative 5 plus negative 1 to get your answer of negative 6, which is what we knew it would be based off of our modeling. And that is the skill we're practicing. That is also the skill that's going to be on your quiz at the end of the day. So make sure again that you're ready for that, because that's really what's going on. Negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 equals means put a wall. Negative 2, 1, 2, and x, which means put a cup there. Our cup is on the right with two negatives. We want to get the two negatives out by putting down two pluses. Cancel out all of your zero pairs, which means any pairs of pluses and minuses that are there. The two negatives come down. The cup comes down, which means obviously our answer is negative 2, but let's make sure by going over here to the algebraic side. Again, if you want to draw a line through that equal sign for your wall, that's fine. That works just okay. So here, x is over here with a negative 2 this time, and again, the way we move a negative 2 is by putting a positive 2 on both sides. Negative 4 plus 2, if you don't know what it is, just don't be too proud to type it in. Notice we get negative 2 here. This cancels, equals comes down, x, and again, notice how these two things match. So please use the rest of the hour to practice this skill. There will be a short quiz given with about 7 minutes left in class. Again, be sure to get a solid grasp of the idea. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to begin building your grade back up to a successful level. I do want all of you to pass, and it'll be really hard if you allow yourself to fail the first quarter. But again, just make sure you work together. Ask as many questions as you need to. The goal, again, is understanding, not perfection. So don't feel like there's any pressure, any extra frustration going on. You're just learning a process that you've never really learned. And the better you learn it today, tomorrow, and this week, the better off you're going to be when everything starts speeding up. So good luck.